I have been testing out a ton of new drugstore makeup, so we're gonna talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. I've been looking for new drugstore holy grails, so make sure you're subscribed because that video is upcoming. But today, we gotta talk about the whole bunch. Not every product is gonna be a holy grail, not even close. Shall we first talk about a product that I was like insanely excited to see launch, which are the new e.l.f. Halo Glow Skin Tints. So I need something really quality. I don't care if it's drugstore or not. If the quality isn't there, I'm not going to recommend it. So I have two different shades. I was wearing the shade For Light Neutral. I also picked up the shade Fair Warm. Fair Warm is a little bit too light for me. Light Neutral is a little bit too dark. I can really get away with either, but now that I have both, I've been mixing them. But it comes in this very attractive squeezy tube. Classic sleek packaging for e.l.f. I feel like they've really been stepping it up. And you shake it up, you open it up, and then you have the little skin tint nozzle. Now this isn't just your classic squeezy tube. There's actually quite a heft to it. I don't know, there's something about this packaging that feels a little bit more luxurious. Something that I didn't realize until I was checking out is that this is a whopping 18 bucks. That is that has to be the most expensive e.l.f. beauty product they've released. I just was not expecting that. I don't know if it is tariffs. I don't know if it is just the state of the world. That's just expensive for e.l.f. It is expensive. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys though. This is really good. This is absolutely beautiful. And before we get into all the details, I just want to say this. If you had completely covered this in like duct tape, I had no idea what the brand was. I squeezed it out, I put it on my face. I would probably guess that this is luxury. Whoever is back there creating and formulating for e.l.f., who led this project, bravo, because this is seriously beautiful. You really do not need a lot of this product in order to get really nice coverage. In fact, that's part of the reason I love this is it's really spreadable and yet pretty highly concentrated as far as pigment. So a little bit really does go a long way. And yet it shears out and spreads over the skin really fluidly and evenly. You know, there are some very highly pigmented products that don't do that, but this is just not that. You know, it really is reminiscent of these products like the CL Tint and Protect, which I absolutely love. This is a slightly thicker formula, but finish-wise, you know, the way it looks on the skin, incredibly similar. Feel free to leave me a comment down below with the skin tint you're currently using, and I'm happy to like give you some comparisons, like some quick comparisons will be in the comments. It almost feels maybe like a more fluid version of like the IT Cosmetics CC cream. If you're a fan of that product, and you're looking for something with just mineral filters, this is really, really fantastic. It wears beautifully. It's very blurring on the skin, but you still get this really nice, fresh, dewy finish. It just has that kind of beautifying factor that I am looking for with a skin tint. If a skin tint just gives me a little bit of coverage, it looks a little dewy, it looks just nice, you know, I have so many products that are just nice at this point. My expectations have been permanently changed as far as makeup goes. I'm looking for something that is really going to give me a blur, really something to give me a glassy look, to really cover imperfections without looking heavy, without looking drying. And it needs to last and not just completely wipe off my face. As far as new drugstore makeup that you are going to see in that upcoming Holy Grail drugstore video, you're gonna see this. I have just been, yeah, I'm blown away. I'm really, really happy that I'm able to come on here with a positive review because at 18 bucks, my standards were high. But again, if you had told me this was like 50 bucks, I would happily pay 50 bucks to have it again. So this is top tier stuff, guys. I'm gonna kind of jump around here a little bit because I have a ton of like new makeup that I bought. But I will say that e.l.f. also released their new incredicurl? Yeah, incredicurl mascara. I immediately, again, bought it because I love a banana-shaped wand like this. I love that it really pushes the lashes up. And something with these natural bristles with that kind of banana shape, just in the past, my lashes just really like formulas like that. It usually gives me this slightly kind of curled, winged out kind of effect. And I actually have been a fan of e.l.f. mascaras in the past. They're really coming out, it feels like they're coming out with a new mascara like every day though. I think they're just kind of releasing one until one sticks. Unfortunately, I don't think it's this one for me. Actually, it goes on really nicely. It gives you, again, just that kind of, I like to call it like an angel lash. It's just fluttery, it's fluffy, there's a nice taper to the lash. It's black, it is not too drying, it's not too wet of a formula, so it just feels like something that, is gonna be kind of a crowd pleaser, but for some reason, though the wand is beautiful, and I think the actual shape that my lashes take on is really nice, they just immediately droop. I was really surprised by that actually, that this is specifically a curling lash mascara, and almost immediately my lashes droop down. That really, you guys, that doesn't really happen with me a lot with mascaras. Typically, my lashes stay up at least for an hour before they start to droop. With a formula that I'm not like really a fan of, they just immediately dropped. So this is going to be a no from me. I actually did try out another one. I'll share with you guys in a second, but this one is not a favorite. It's not going to be one I repurchase. Shall we talk about a new lip and cheek product that is on my lips right now? Actually, the main product is one of the new NYX Smushy lip balms. We're going to talk about those in a second, but right in the center, just a little bit. And on my cheeks, I have the new Jelly Water Tint from Covergirl. Now, Covergirl, they're yummy glosses, really, really lovely formula. I've been testing like on and off some new Covergirl releases. I actually have their Blur lipstick that we're going to talk about here in a second. But specifically, I saw a red lip tint and blush and I was like, all right, add to cart. This one is very different. And I think that CoverGirl is doing something really special with this formula. So as far as application goes, because it is a lip and a cheek product, I love that they made it kind of this larger doe foot with, it has kind of like a cutout in the middle, so product will settle there, which I think is nice. But, I have found this applicator to be equally nice for the lips and the cheeks. However, my personal favorite way to wear this is on the cheeks. And again, I wore it very sheerly on the cheeks today, but this is really, really cool. This is a really unique texture. So it does feel almost like a jelly. Like truly, it does have almost like this watery gel kind of quality to it. And yet it is, concentrated with pigment. But to me, it doesn't feel like a gel version of like something like Benetint or something like the e.l.f. Sheer For It blush tints, which we'll talk about in a second. It really is doing something completely on its own. I want you guys to see how that goes out onto my hand. Okay, so you would think, oh my gosh, that's gonna immediately stain. But when you take it off, you see how it does a good job of actually shearing out. It leaves a stain, but it's not so inky that it's difficult to work with. Yeah, that is really what I'm looking for when it comes to products like this. So again, it's leaving behind a stain, it's going to last, but the texture itself has enough of that gel, watery, almost serum-like texture that makes it easy enough to apply. But it is one of the most easy to work with cheek stains at the drugstore that I have used. So you can kind of just take it onto a brush, probably best to use synthetic for something like this, and then just tap it onto the cheeks. It really melts in and leaves that really thin look on the skin. You can't necessarily see where the product starts and stops. Obviously the color you will, but there isn't really a heavy texture to it. It is that really just fluid stained kind of effect. If you're into a cheek stain, a lip stain, this new one at the drugstore I think is really, really lovely. I've been also wanting to do a red blush video at the drugstore, and if I were to do that video, this would definitely be one that I would recommend because on the lips, it looks delightful too. it just is easier to apply. I'm really glad that they went with this kind of jelly water tint texture versus, again, just like a fluid stain texture, which can be more difficult to work with in some instances. Just a really, really lovely product from Covergirl. I'm really happy with this one. Now, when I asked you guys what drugstore makeup you wanted to see me test and review, a lot of you wanted to see the new Lumi Matte Superstay Foundation from Maybelline, so I have been trying it out. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was already kind of annoyed at this launch even before I started to wear it because Lumi Matte just doesn't, that's not a thing. I think it's confusing for the consumer. I'm gonna give you guys the lowdown on like my experience with the formula, who I think it's actually geared towards. So I have the shade 118. This is not my shade. This is definitely, I went too dark with this one. This one has a very thin texture. If you guys are familiar with something like the L'Oreal True Match, it has quite a similar texture. Actually, it kind of smells the same too. But this is even thinner than that formula. And actually, I found this to look and feel incredibly lightweight. You know, that always initially makes me a little bit worried because I have drier skin. I mean, during the summertime, my skin is definitely normal now. It definitely shifts over to normal during this time of year, especially because where I live, it's incredibly humid. This went on very, very thinly, and it does dry down pretty quickly. So you kind of have to work in sections. I would kind of like split your face into three, go on one half, the other half, and then like the top section of your forehead. But it is a very airy formula, and it does give like a nice medium coverage. You can also build this one up, and I was initially kind of worried about whether or not you would be able to build it up just because like some areas dry really quickly, but I don't notice anything awkward or weird happening when one area dries and the other area is not dry. Everything synergizes well enough. And here's what I'm gonna say. When I mix this into something like the e.l.f. Thirsty Drops, this is kind of like their answer to the Glow Recipe Drops. We'll talk about this in a second. You know, when I mix this into something like that, or if I even use my Holy Grail Haru Haru Wonder Barrier Essence, I can wear this comfortably. It's going to be matte on me, but in the summertime, you know, with how humid it's been, I think it's looked really nice. And I think that this is going to be a product that people can wear for a long time, that's going to wear with you. So if you have dry skin or normal skin and you've been wondering about this, like, can I wear this? My personal answer would be with the right skin prep, I think that you can. It's just going to be a foundation that probably is going to look better on you like 4 hours in rather than first immediate application. And I'm gonna say, if you're a combo, this is the sweet spot for you. I would love to hear what those of you with oily skin have to say about this because it's so airy and light. I just feel like it would be a fan favorite. Personally, for me, my go-to is going to be the e.l.f. just because it gets along better with my skin. It has a little bit more moisture. But if you are someone that likes something really, really feather lightweight, has nice coverage, maybe you're more on the combo side, I think that you'll really enjoy this. Do I think it's a luminous matte? No. Do I think that it's a really pretty kind of like skin-like finish? Yes. And that's just gonna kind of depend on the way that you prep your skin and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I'm not mad at this one, guys. But let's quickly talk about the e.l.f. Thirsty Drops. So I just got kind of like the smaller sample size because I wanted to see what this one was about. So this is like their dewy kind of brightening serum. You can put this under your makeup to kind of give yourself like a glassy kind of glow. You can mix it into product, and this is just it's really refreshing on the skin. It doesn't go down to a really greasy finish. It feels more of like that kind of tacky finish, which I personally really like that the Glow Recipe Drops have that. No like watermelon smell that like the Glow Recipe has, so you might dis or like that about it. I don't think it's necessarily going to make it into like my full-time skincare routine, but it is one of those products, again, that I'm like watching e.l.f. I'm like, you know, they are coming out with textures that work really well with makeup. This is another texture that I think works really well with makeup, and especially this time of the year when we're prepping our skin for makeup. You don't want to go in with a really heavy moisturizer this time of the year necessarily. I've been saying thirsty drops. It's thirst burst drops. This is very hydrating. The humectants are definitely there. So if you're dealing with dehydration, I think you would also really like this one. So again, not a bad launch from e.l.f. e.l.f. is like doing some really interesting stuff as of late. Let's talk about the NYX Smushy Matte Lip Balms. So I really didn't know what to expect with this launch, but I am really glad that I tried it. So I am wearing the shade Wipe to Smooth. SM, come on. They are always so annoying with their shade names. I guess it's SMB07. So you can see I've been wearing it for a while. It isn't the most long-lasting lip product that you're ever going to use. So again, if you're someone that is really, really looking for longevity #1 in your lip product, this is probably not for you.
Hello from me editing and Charlie. So I wanted to quickly mention that I think that the NYX Smushy Balms, they are much better as like a sheer product. As I've continued to use them outside of this video, whenever I use them like full pigment, I do think that you can kind of get the butthole lip a little bit, and I even noticed it in this footage. So I think like if you want something to just use a little bit and use it really sheerly, it's very pretty. I've only used one shade. I do think that there is something here, but yeah, like if you're expecting full pigment for a product that already doesn't last super long, it just might not be for you, but thought I'd give you guys that update. Okay, bye from Charlie and I.
I think that it's doing something really cool. It has it has a silicone slip to it. Definitely has a plushiness. Also smells kind of like a sweet vanilla smell, kind of like their butter glosses do. It just gives this really nice kind of like matte, pillowy look to the lips. If you are into this look, I feel like every brand has a similar kind of thing to this at this point. Whether it's the lip blurs from Refi, I'm like blanking on some of the other ones. The Violette FR blurry balms. What makes this different to me is that it is more easily sheared out and that it is a liquid. So if you don't want to use like a stiffer balm, this feels more comforting than a lot of those products because I think there's just in general more moisture to it. It's in like a liquid form. Also, I think the packaging is very, very cute. This color looks very expensive to me. It's not going to be like the most forgiving product on like dry lips. I mean, I have kind of dry lips right now. It isn't going to completely mask any of those dry little pieces. If you want matte and you also want a comforting kind of feel on the lips, I think that this is really cool. They also have a matte clear version, which I feel like I have to try that just because I feel like what would that formula be like? Like a completely matte lip balm. What would the texture be like? I'm just interested personally. I actually did also try the lip stains from NYX. We'll talk about those in a second, but the e.l.f. Sheer for It blush tints. You guys, I bought 3 because these are like some of my favorite kinds of products. I have been a huge fan of Benetint for, I don't even know, like 10 years. Cha-Cha tint, all of the tints, all of the Benefit tints I have loved for a long time. So pretty much try like every single dupe product that comes out for those because I'm always looking for another alternative. And I had to give these ones from e.l.f. a go. So again, I have 3 shades here. I have Orange Crush, which I'm assuming is like the Cha-Cha tint equivalent. I have Left On Red, which is probably closest to the OG Benetint. And then Cherry Cola, which I think is supposed to be similar to their new Black Cherry color that they came out with, which I also did buy and I love. So these have an incredibly, incredibly watery texture. You guys have tried the, gosh, I'm already forgetting what brand came out with them. I'll leave a picture up. I think it's a Toot House, like the Toot water tints. If you guys have tried those, you don't need to go out and buy these. They're, for me, kind of like the exact same formula, basically. They are very, very watery lip tints in varying colors. Now, e.l.f. has done a really good job of giving us a very small applicator on these that doesn't pick up too much product. They apply on the lips beautifully. The stain lasts, they look really fresh, they're very thin, and again, it is like a true stain. Like, if you're sitting there dyeing Easter eggs, this is, this is essentially the same thing. But you know what? I think that they're really nice. I think for someone that just wants to play around with a lip stain, you enjoy a really thin formula like this, I think that you would really enjoy it. I'm gonna add actually a little bit of the Cherry Cola shade, just here. I really like to kind of add lip stains in combination with other formulas that don't necessarily last the longest. And look at that. I mean, it really will add intensity to any lip product that you have. You could also put this under like a traditional lipstick and it'll make everything fade more evenly. And you could also use these as like lip liners, which again, I actually did a reel recently on Instagram showing you guys how I do that. I would like take a little bit of a darker shade along the edges of the lips and then take something a little bit lighter, maybe the orange shade in the middle, and it really gives you this really pretty dimensional look. For the cheeks, this is a no. And it's the same reason why I don't reach for the ones from Etude House or even the one from Essence, like their version of the Benetint, on the cheeks. They will stain immediately where you put them right away. They don't give you enough time to really work with them. And I think it's partially a texture thing, and I think it's also partially the way that the pigments are incorporated. For whatever reason, I mean, I still haven't been able to figure out for myself. When I swipe literally with the applicator Benetint onto my cheeks, or Cha-Cha tint, or any of the other tints, Love tint, when I swipe them directly on the cheeks and then blend, they will blend and not leave that like stripe. If I do that with these, I have to blend really quickly, and I just notice where things aren't like just completely blended perfectly. Now, some of you guys might be saying, well, like, okay, just put it onto a brush and then apply it onto the skin. Even when you do that, wherever you directly put the brush, that the most pigment is going to be there and you're gonna notice it. So what I've recommended doing in the past with some of these alternatives to Benetint's, kind of like the dupes, if you don't want to spend the extra money on Benetint, what you could do is just put these under your foundation and then let your skin tint kind of like blend in any of those edges, and that will work really well. I just personally, I don't like staining my direct like cheek skin anymore because when I take off my makeup, my cheeks look kind of ruddy. But if you don't mind that, then that is another way to get around it. You could also try maybe mixing this into another product to. For me personally, on the cheeks, I'm going to be reaching for Benetint. I think it's more even, I think it's easier to work with. I don't think these are bad, I just don't think that they are completely at that level. I let you guys know that I did try out another new mascara, and this is the Colossal Bubble from Maybelline. Whenever I'm on TikTok, I cannot escape this mascara. Everyone is using this mascara, everyone is saying how amazing it is. Well, I finally tried it for myself. It is the mascara I'm wearing on my eyes right now. So this is a natural bristle mascara, and you can, I don't know if you guys can tell, the bristles are actually quite flexible, and there are a lot of like open spaces in between them, so it's not a very high density bristled brush. The formula is also quite wet, so when you're dealing with more flexible bristles with quite a lot of product, you're gonna get a lot of volume, like pretty quickly. Now, the good thing is that the bristles are, again, really flexible, so you can kind of move through the product and coat your lashes if you give yourself enough time. But personally for me, when I tried this just with the normal amount of mascara that is on here, it was very voluminous. It got a little bit clumpy pretty quickly, and it was just not my favorite look. However, as I've continued to test it, I essentially take a piece of toilet paper and I take off almost all of the product that is on this brush because, again, the brush really gets loaded with product. And when I do that, I get a really nice kind of flirty, that kind of angel lash look, and I really like it. Look very airy, and I think that whenever I want kind of like that angel flirty kind of lash look, I don't want it to look like there's a lot of clumpy product sitting on the lashes, so you can really, notice the lashes filled with product. I think everyone's a little bit different with mascara. There are some days where if I'm doing like something really smoky, I really want there to be a lot of mascara on the lashes, but for every day, I want the lashes to look good, but not really heavily coated in product. I'm definitely going to be using both of these. I have the black and like the black brown, I believe. Either way, all this is to say is that I'm definitely going to be using these up. I'm just going to need to have a tissue on hand. So it's not like the most maintenance-free mascara. Maybe when they dry out a little bit, I'll like them even more. But if I don't have time to wipe these off with paper towel or toilet paper, then I am not going to reach for them. I'm going to reach for something else. But this is another product that everyone on TikTok is talking about. The NYX Brow Glue Crazy Lift. So this is essentially like a lamination kind of brow gel. I am like a huge fan already of the Anastasia Brow Freeze Gel. This one, it already has like a rubberized bristle. It's very precise. It's actually, I think it's in my brows today. So I'm always willing to try like another brow freezing kind of gel product. I should have known from the start that this was not going to be for me. One, the applicator is a very stiff, like plastic applicator, and then it comes out onto these like little bristles that are quite short, and you got zero control with this. You have all of the product sitting here. If you even squeeze a little bit, more is gonna come out. And it's not dispersing anything evenly in the brows. Immediately the brows are overloaded with product, and also, I gotta be honest, it's also probably just not a product that it was ever made for me. My eyebrow hairs are generally longer. I keep them a little bit longer. I like that look, but probably not for me. If you do, however, really like that laminated brow look, you have shorter brow hairs or perhaps even sparser brow hairs, I could see this working for that, but I still think that there are better options out there that are going to give you a really good lift with more control. Like, I even tried like just taking the product out and using my own spoolie, and it was still a disaster. So I don't know. This one is just not working for me. Product that is working for me though is the new Yummy Blur lip tints from Covergirl. So I have mine in the shade Perfectly Blurry. I just didn't know what to really expect out of these. I didn't know if it was going to be like a really heavy kind of blurring lip tint with a lot of pigment, but this one at least is quite sheer. It applies really evenly. It does have a little bit of like that kind of pear fragrance, like slightly floral. It's not my favorite out of like fragrances in general. I think like the first application is a little waxy for whatever reason, but when you just kind of like warm it up, it doesn't really translate like that anymore, and you get just a really even, pretty blurred lip finish. This is a thinner texture than like the NYX smushy balms. So if you want something even thinner, even sheer, probably even more natural in some cases, I think that you could absolutely go with this one. I think it's really nice. And I like that we now have more options for this kind of look now at the drugstore. But I will say, I think some of you guys aren't going to like the scent. I don't mind it. It's just not my favorite. It smells like a body scent or like I don't know, like a Bath and Body Works kind of like splash mist or something. I don't know. Not my favorite, but I can look past it. I might even be more excited about this lip product from NYX, which is the Lip IV. This is their hydrating gloss serum. So it goes on as a normal gloss would, but it actually is enriched with a staining pigment quality. See, I love this scent. This just smells like almost like a coconut cookie or like a macaroon. Really, really good. I think it's always better to go with safe lip scents, not gonna lie. And this goes on really in a really plush way. It's not super thick, but it's not really slippy and thin and awkward. And it leaves behind this really nice even stain, a stain that I wasn't even really necessarily expecting. It was truly a pleasant surprise for me. I just didn't really know what to expect with this, but if you are someone that wants kind of like a medium pigmentation lip gloss, but when it starts to fade, it just leaves behind this really pretty stain, then I think you're gonna be a big fan of this. By the way, this is the shade Drippin' in Rose. If I haven't been mentioning shades, just so you know, I'll leave all the shades and links down below to all the products I talked about. But I think that this is worth any of the hype. Like, I have been seeing people for a long time buzz about these, and I'm really, really glad that I finally gave them a shot because I think that they're really unique. Some of you guys might be familiar with the Glass Shine, like super lustrous balms from Revlon that they came out with a few years ago. They discontinued them, and I'm pretty sure they brought them back. I'm not sure if they're limited edition or if they're here to stay or what the issue is. I was never like in the complete like cult following of these. They were always a little bit too thin for me, but I do really, I've grown some appreciation for this. I did pick up the shade 003, and it's just like a really nice kind of soft coral. For me, it's just like a stiffer lip balm that isn't too slippy. I almost remember these being slippier, but they actually have like I kind of messed this one up, but they actually have a little bit more glide and butteriness than I remember. And I don't think it's bad. I actually think that it is a nice, really easy kind of just like throw it in your purse kind of product. And I actually like this formula more than the original like super lustrous lipsticks from Revlon. For me, this is probably going to be one of those like throw it in your bag products or just kind of like quickly apply. Really just easy, effortless. Also, I love the white. I think the white is so pretty for the summer. I'm really into the packaging. I have to take off this sticker though, so I can actually enjoy the packaging. Very sleek. Almost reminds me of like like the summer limited edition like Tom Ford packaging. Yeah, I like a little luxury spin. And last but certainly not least, we have the new L'Oreal Infallible Blurfection 24-hour powder. I haven't tried out a new drugstore powder in a while, so I was really excited to give this one a go. And I got the light pink shade just to see if I could get a little bit of a brightened effect with this. This powder is very, very thin. Actually, I didn't put on any powder today. Maybe I'll just do like a sheer kind of layer of powder on this side of my face just to kind of show you guys the effect, and I'll do like a side by side really fast. So this is a sheer layer of this all over, and you see how it's not like overly mattifying. It feels like incredibly lightweight. It just gives such a pretty blur. So there is the dewy side with no powder, and then there is the powdered side. So you still get like a nice glow. Again, you're not gonna look flat, but it's definitely going to set things down into place. And it isn't an overly drying formula. My current favorite is the Loose Halo Glow from e.l.f. I think that is a beautiful powder at the drugstore. But this one is even more thin and lightweight. So probably not, this is not going to be like a replacement to something like the Easy Bake from Huda Beauty or anything like that. But if you want something really, really thin, not like a ton of brightening necessarily, just a really nice kind of everyday, slightly smoothing powder. I will say, I think there are some powders in my collection that or even more blurring with this kind of finish, like my Kosas Pressed Cloud Set. I absolutely love. Let's see what else I have in here. I've been absolutely obsessed with my my RMS Hydra Powder. And so when I have like a holy grail kind of sitting there in my brain, I'm always doing like these comparisons always when I'm reviewing products for you guys. I don't like this quite as much as that, but I still think it's good. So just kind of like a little bit of context there. And there we have it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I will leave links down below to all of the products that I reviewed for you guys. Make sure you are subscribed for my upcoming like Holy Grail drugstore makeup video. I'm really, really excited about that one. I love doing the roundup videos of all like amazing products. Overall, thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one.